What's up, everybody? It's your boy Matt, or Matt That's Who, or Takes for Matt in this case, because this is going on my Takes for Matt YouTube channel and also going to be a special one sided discussion episode of Discussion Avenue. And today, what we're going to be discussing is AEW's All Out pay per view. If you don't know, I used to be a huge wrestling fan, and nowadays I kind of tune in and out. Of course, I keep up with it through all the mutuals that I've made throughout my journey in the YWC, and so I see what's going on. And for the longest time, I would just watch WrestleMania, which is the biggest show of the year for anyone who doesn't really know. The WWE's the biggest show they put on every year. I tune in and watch WrestleMania for the most part every year. It was sometime probably shortly after WrestleMania 30, where I was totally tuned out on a regular basis. I'd felt bad for Daniel Bryan after everything that happened with his injuries and having to relinquish the title. It was just very sad, and a lot of that made me feel bad. And it was just a changing of the guard with the Undertaker losing the streak. It was just a very transitional time for wrestling for me at that time. But now we get to present day, and throughout my occasional little pop-ins with the WWE, never really watched any other companies, honestly. Impact or TNA was definitely dead. I didn't really keep up with the indies as much because most of that indie talent that I'd watched was getting signed by WWE. So I was hopeful that maybe that would turn into something. And every time I would tune in, there would be cause for hope and cause for the future. Like, for instance, I would see NXT and see how women's wrestling was actually a thing with the likes of Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bayley. Some of the matches that Sasha Banks and Bayley had in NXT were so amazing. Becky Lynch, of course, too. Just seeing these women innovate in wrestling was definitely a high point in my transitional phase of popping in and out. And I actually had to go out of my way to watch women's wrestling, which at the time when I was actually a wrestling fan, it was non-existent. So that was one of the things that I was like excited to see. But for the most part, most of these indie wrestlers, they would get their shine for a little while, but it just wouldn't be consistent. They wouldn't be consistently billed as one of the top guys. And I mean, Seth Rollins is probably the guy you can kind of be like, oh, that guy, he's kind of maintained that spot. But you would see guys like Kevin Steen, or Kevin Owens in this case. He had his time in the spotlight, and he's kind of a mid-card kind of guy right now. He gets his high-profile kind of stuff every now and then, and I could be speaking totally out of pocket, and if I am, correct me, because like I said, I just kind of hear from what I see very occasionally, because I don't really go out of my way to see it. And just from me watching it, I actually did watch SummerSlam because with the whole CM Punk stuff, which I'll get into A&W here in a second, but with the whole, I had to go and watch SummerSlam as well, and it didn't really do anything for me. It was just, I mean, I'm tired of these big guys that Vince always sees as the guy, like Brock Lesnar or Goldberg especially. I do not want to see that guy in the spotlight. It's just not what I want from me as a wrestling fan. Towards the later years of my wrestling enjoyment, when I was fully invested, I was watching all these independent companies because they were providing something that the WWE did not. And buying all the DVDs and watching PWG, Ring of Honor, New Japan here and there, a Noah match here and there. It was just different. And Dragon Gate USA was something I really enjoyed too as well. And they offered that definite, really excellent professional wrestling for me. Now, fast forward to AEW now. With the whole rumors of CM Punk coming back, I said, look, this is huge. I have to check it out. It's been 7 years since this guy was in there. He definitely was one of the causes. Like, he made himself a star in the WWE. Of course, he was a name before that independent wrestling scene, but he made a name for himself. I'm not saying the WWE made him. He made that name for himself. He was different. And him and Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson now, they did something different there. And Danielson was one of my favorite guys. I actually watched my first Ring of Honor show I ever bought was that, ironically, his last one, Glory by Honor 8, the final countdown when he faced Nigel McGuinness. And it was such a fantastic show. And seeing how the fans were so passionate about these guys going on to different avenues in their lives. And of course, I followed both them, and it was very sad how Nigel's career turned out in TNA. And Danielson definitely made a name for himself. He was a huge star. And the injuries kind of derailed Danielson, so it would very be interesting to see what would happen if those injuries never took place. But it just seems like they just rotate between Roman Reigns. Triple H was in there for a little while as well as one of the guys. Roman Reigns, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg. It's The Rock here and there, John Cena. I mean, they're fine, but it's just not what I want to see. And so 2 years ago, of course, I hear about AEW, and I didn't really go out of my way to watch it, but they had my notice. They were trying to build something there, and some of the stars that they had gathered were showing promise. And now you fast forward to All Out 2021 now, and you have CM Punk coming over, and you just had Adam Cole coming in, and Bryan Danielson, of course. It's just amazing to see these guys over there, and it's definitely caught my attention because these are high-profile guys. And me watching the show, I'll actually get into it kind of. I was very entertained. I saw guys like Miro facing off against Eddie Kingston, which is a match I never thought I'd really see. I forget Miro's name in the WWE because I only saw a couple matches from him, but I think he faced John Cena at a WrestleMania once, and I thought it was an all right match because, I mean, John Cena's okay, and Miro, man, he impressed me. He impressed me. I did not know he had this in them. And it was a fun match. And then seeing Jon Moxley face off against Satoshi Kojima, very fun match. I mean, Jon Moxley was another guy I enjoyed watching in my tent that I would go back and forth. I mean, Moxley was never like one of my favorite guys in the independent scene because I'd seen a couple matches here and there. I see their women's match with Britt Baker facing off against Chris Statlander. It was a good match. And then you get to that steel cage match. Oh my God, the steel cage match. The Young Bucks have always been fantastic. Whenever I watch them in PWG, Ring of Honor, I think they're in a Dragon Gate USA match here and there. Fantastic tag team. And that was something that was different with independent wrestling. Because you would see the tag team division in WWE was just non-existent. The matches didn't mean anything, and the quality of the matches was nothing really. It would just kind of be a storyline at some times because you would just put two big stars together, give them the tag titles as part of the angle that they're going into, building up to whatever match. It wasn't a thing that meant anything for the most part to me. And seeing the way that some of these independent tag teams would just go out and just put it all out there for the fans was amazing. And this steel cage match was another thing. It's probably, I mean, it has to be one of the better matches I've seen since I've been on my in and out spree, minus maybe a match maybe here or there, but this match was incredible. The action was amazing. The Lucha Bros, I mean, I've never seen anything from them. And that was another thing about this pay-per-view is just getting introduced to these people, because for a while I was just like, I'm not really seeing any kind of bright people that I'm interested in the WWE aside from, like I was saying with those women's wrestlers earlier, how they really surprised me. And seeing this, it was very nice. And I'll get more into that later, but this match was just fantastic. So many different things in it. It was just so much fun. And then you get to the Casino Battle Royal. I mean, I wasn't too much of a fan of it. A lot of people were excited for Ruby coming in and getting the win. I can't really say I have any connection to that because I did not know of her at all before, so there's that. And then I'd always heard about MJF with this Chris Jericho match coming up next, and I'd always see him cutting promos and being a fantastic heel from what I've seen. And this match was all right. It definitely had its spot in the show. I'm not going to say it was like a really great match, but it was good. It did what it needed to do. And then you had CM Punk facing Darby Allin, and man, this Darby Allin kid was fun to watch. He was just all over the ring. Some of the moves he would make, I mean, some of the falls he would take. That fall where where CM Punk whipped him into the turnbuckle, and he kind of went sideways in there and just like hit the side of the ring. Oh my God, some of the bumps this guy's takes is insane. I wonder if all of his matches are like this. I'm going to have to watch more of Darby Allin just to see, because he's a very interesting character, very interesting moveset, very interesting style that he wrestles with. And CM Punk went out there and put on a pretty good match for not having wrestled for 7 years. That's a good showing from CM Punk, no doubt about that. And he'll get more back to it as time goes on. And then the Paul White with QT Marshall. This is something I could have done without, but it was only 3 minutes long, so it's kind of there just to give you a relief between the two big matches of the night. And then you get to Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage. I'm sure their other match was really good. That was on AEW Dynamite. I didn't watch it. Probably should have, where they fought for the Impact Championship. But, I mean, this was a fun match for the most part. It got going in some spots, and it had its spots in there. I mean, Kenny Omega is a fantastic wrestler, and Christian Cage, he can go out there and do his thing when he needs to. But, I mean, it was fun. I mean, I think a big thing of it that hurt it is pretty much everyone was waiting for the end of it, because we all knew that Bryan Danielson was going to be coming out, or Daniel Bryan for people who don't know. And that's what I was waiting on personally, because Danielson was one of those guys that towards the later years of my wrestling I really enjoyed. It was him and Davey Richards. Those were two guys I adored watching. And seeing Danielson come back and seeing how motivated he is. And I was watching some of the post-event press conferences. I was going to say post-fight press conferences, but post-event press conference for All Out with Tony Khan, taking questions from the press. And it's really cool how they do that. I enjoyed watching that and hearing them speak about how excited they are to be here, hearing from CM Punk, Adam Cole, Danielson, how they're all excited to contribute to this, and how they want to contribute more to what's already been here, and how they've already laid the foundation. And at this point, it's just going to be like, well, who's going to be coming next? And you have to hope that it doesn't get too crazy where they just start adding in a whole bunch of just talent they probably don't need. But you see guys like Adam Cole, Danielson, and CM Punk. These guys are perfect for it. I mean, Punk, he's drawn so much attention to this now, and adding in Cole and Danielson is just going to multiply that even more. It's just a recipe for good stuff. And AEW might have my attention where I might start watching wrestling every now and then, as opposed to just popping in once a year for one event. I might have to watch it every other Wednesday maybe, or one Wednesday out of the month, maybe catch a Rampage here and there. It's definitely something I'm going to have to keep my eye on. Maybe just tune in for a match or so, tune out when I'm busy with something else maybe. But I mean, look, AEW, you have my attention now. It's very interesting, and I want to see where this is going to go. And Tony Khan, you've done something here. I will say that. And credit to Nightmare Bala. I've always seen him always say Tony Khan is like a wrestling nerd like everyone else, and he's just a wrestling nerd with money, where he can go out and do what he wants and put together this great product. And I'm excited for the future of this product. I'm excited to see where it goes. So yeah, that's kind of just what I had to say about it real quick. I just wanted to come out here and get my thoughts on it. As a former wrestling fan who's been in and out, it's something that is very interesting to me, and I want to see what's going to happen in the future. I know I've said that multiple times now, but it gives you hope for. And it sounds like I'm coming so down on the WWE, but um, just seeing the criticisms from people I follow and mutuals, it's just seemed like it hasn't really gotten too much better. And the fact that they don't really have anyone on their radar doesn't help, because competition's a good thing to have. Competition will elevate the business as a whole. And I mean, it's left to see if WWE will do anything. I highly doubt it, because they have their own brand and ways of doing things. They've been making a lot of money doing what they do. So I don't really see anything changing. But for those guys who want fantastic in-ring wrestling product with some really great talent, this is the company for you. And it might be the company for me to watch now. So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in to hearing what I had to say about this. I just had to get it off my chest for a minute, because it's been what I've been thinking about a lot, especially with football season coming up. It's crazy that it's gotten into my head like this. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody. Peace.